All right, so meeting called to order at 6:34. Let me get this
Emily, do you want me to
shared.
take the notes?
Oh, sure. Yes, I always forget that you're here and so diligent. I wish I
Does
had somebody like that in all my meetings.
does
What was that?
Winter and Anne have proxies that they've designated?
Not that I am aware of.
Okay, I didn't see on any
I
in the
just texted Anne. Okay, yeah, I didn't either. I texted Anne and I emailed Winter again. I haven't heard from her. She wasn't present last board meeting either. So I'll have to try and connect with her and find out what's going on and if she still has capacity for participating on the board. Okay, so what's first up, we're gonna approve the agendas, review last month's meeting minutes, which I already have up here. Yes? No. I thought I did. Yeah, that is them. Oh, look at that. Okay, that's the right one. Okay, so the last meeting, we had some discussion items. Oh, this was before the conference. Yay, we get an update on how the conference went. There was some news coverage in Fairbanks. That was exciting. We did the conference update and we talked about the public policy committee meeting. Oh, we wanted to follow up on what to do with voluntary forms. Okay. Everybody that was here at that meeting, are you good with approving last month's minutes? I should have my chat open.
Yes. Is this a motion or a vote? I never remember which to do.
Motion. I know, yeah.
Okay, then seconded the motion.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. All right, I'll approve or yeah, everyone that approves, yays. Any nays?
No, we got a motion and a
Perfect.
seconded, so we should be good.
Perfect. All right. So our agenda, what we have on here is a follow-up discussion meeting, or just trying to figure out if we're going to keep that or if we're going to, if that's no longer needed. Review of the bylaws on voting. Janet's going to give us an update. Thank you so much for taking care of the biannual report. Rachel, you will give us an update on the conference review, and I will do an update on the public policy committee activities. Any other action items that we need to put on the agenda?
Yeah, Emily, we might think about if someone would like to step in as a new secretary treasurer. I know like this is going into my like third year, so I don't know if anyone else was interested or what we want to do with that. I know when Rachel approached me, I like committed to 3 years, so I wasn't sure where we're on that kind of right now.
Okay, absolutely. Yeah, we can absolutely add that to the agenda. Is that something that we can put out to the membership to try and bring in to see if other people want? Because I think trying to have somebody, okay.
The secretary treasurer position is by appointment.
Oh.
So you can pick whoever you want. They don't have to be a voting member. They could, you know, because they don't technically, yeah, I don't remember exactly how it works out, but it can be anybody. But okay. Yeah, I do think talking about transition plan is good.
Okay, great. All right, anything else that you would like to add? Sorry, go ahead, Rachel.
Nope, I was just gonna motion to approve the agenda.
Perfect. I'll second it. All right, so the Training and Guidance Committee, if I'm recalling correctly, there was discussion of that a year or so ago, but nothing, we didn't end up getting a committee lead. So it kind of just stagnated. Is that correct? Or at
So
least the committee lead is no longer present on the board.
Right. Yep. That's no longer present on the board. And I think if you want to click the C notes from April, we kind of talked about it a little bit, but we didn't really come to an agreement on that part of it.
Oh, perfect. Okay.
So my thought would be that we may not need, in fact, we may not want to have too many subcommittees since we have very small participation right now anyway, both with our board and with our membership. I think the conference might be a good springboard to try and get some more active members, but I don't think subcommittees is going to be the way to build participation. So since we don't have a clear vision for this committee and nothing happened with it previously, and the person who was chairing it is no longer there, I would think we could just drop it for now. And if that need arises, or it looks like it said that Carrie might be interested in helping like down the road, then maybe it could be added back. And yeah, but I don't know that we have a vision for it, so let's not have meetings that we don't know what we're doing anyway.
Yeah, I am 100% aligned with that. So I think, you know, we're on the same page. If there's not somebody that's here that would be like, oh, I really wanted to run that, and here's my vision for it. I don't think it's worth trying to force something else. So yeah. Perfect. Jana or Kristen, do either of you have any additions to that?
I think less is more right now.
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah, we can wait and see if there's any need in the future for it, but
Perfect.
yeah.
All right. And then, so our next item is to review the bylaws on voting. And since we're down a member, the president-elect position is open currently. Then we really need to figure out how voting should be conducted moving forward. If we do not have quorum, we have quorum today, right? Yeah. We have 4 of us. We do not?
Jana doesn't count.
Why not? What? But you're our secretary treasurer.
But I don't have voting rights.
Because it's
You
an
don't have voting
appointed,
right?
because
it's
it's an
appointed
appointed position, she
And
can't
not
be a
elected.
decision maker for it because she wasn't elected.
Maybe we look at making the secretary treasurer position a voting position.
And that would, the challenge is that then you have to make sure, well, I guess, yeah, I feel like that would open up some other things for discussion, right? When Jana took this position, she was still a student. So, I mean, a professional in the field, but as far as our qualifications for membership, she would have been a student member or an affiliate member, but not a full member. Now she is, right? But it has and I won't say every time, but some of the times in this role, it has been students. Or that was the idea, that we could get some student involvement, and then they could kind of like grow into the membership a little bit. It didn't always work that way, but yeah. So if you want the secretary treasurer to be able to have a vote, we would need to consider whether then, if they have to meet the requirements for a voting member, or if you make it an exception, then I think it has to be elected.
Yeah.
That would be my thought.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I was thinking is if we're discussing transition of secretary treasurer and bylaws, which will also, if we make any changes, have to be voted on, we could potentially shift to the secretary treasurer is consistently at the meetings at least, right? Like
they have been with Jana, yes.
Yeah.
Prior to Jana, when it wasn't Veronica, right? Because Veronica filled that role because we didn't have somebody for a while either. Veronica tried to fill that role with the student, and that never panned out.
Okay.
And I don't know, like, originally there was a secretary and a treasurer and a president, and we didn't even have a board. So those were all voting members. But then when we redid it, we combined that and made it not.
So kind of chiming in, I know Brock tried to be the secretary treasurer for a while. It's kind of handy having it where you can offer it to an ambitious trainee behavior analyst. I would, based on how many people we have, Noodles is voting also, based on how many voting or how many people we have running for our elected positions, it might do us a favor to keep that as a student / nominated position, because it's easy to get someone who wants to build their resume into it. Just arguing for the sake of pragmatics.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And I would agree too, because once you get into people who are full members, they are also professionals in the field who, as we've seen, don't always have the time to participate, right? It's been a relatively small group of us. It definitely dwindled a lot during the COVID. So, yeah.
Okay. No, I
So
think those are really great discussion points. And the secretary treasurer position is a really important one for somebody who has the time to be able to really dedicate to it. So I like that idea of keeping it an appointed position.
But we do need to address quorum.
Yeah.
And we've had this issue before with members who were unable to fulfill their role. Sometimes those board members admit that and step down. And so then we can go about, I can't remember, and it may depend whether it's an appointed or another election or whatever. We may have written that in, that sort of a thing. But we've also, there are emails, draft email, about sending to particular board members who are not meeting their,
Okay.
requirements, and setting contingencies around that. Because
Okay.
the thing is that if they're still the board member and they haven't resigned, we have to have a process to dismiss someone so that we can do another election. So there is some documentation around that, and there's some draft emails around that.
Okay.
So I know you mentioned at the start that you were going to reach out to some people that have been absent, and maybe you can look at some of the stuff that we did in previous year. I
Yep.
want to say it was maybe a year to a year and a half ago. Was the most recent time that came up.
Okay.
And then you can use that draft email, you can follow up directly, because the thing is that we have to have people that are committed.
Yeah.
Yes, there's a little bit of a numbers issue where we used to be able to have up to 2 people be gone and still make quorum. We can't. We can only have 1 person be gone. If we have 2 people, we don't make quorum, right? So, I think we just have to really stress that.
Yeah.
And
Would it be
proxy is an
possible?
option.
Would it be possible to let people select their proxy, kind of have a standing proxy order, so that if they're absent, so like say I knew I was going to miss a meeting, or say I got stuck behind a car fire and my phone wasn't with me, that I could already have something on file to say that Rachel is my proxy for this year. Could we offer like a standing proxy so that then we can always have quorum because people should have assigned their proxies?
I don't know.
So we've addressed this before, Kristen. And we kind of like went through the whole training of like, if you're going to be absent, like just email or like ask someone to be your proxy. But people aren't even doing that anymore. So I'm not
so
sure.
when they join the board, if we just have them select a proxy and then every year send out a, hey, do you want to maintain this proxy or select a new one?
Yeah, I think that
so
would
then
work
you just
as long as that person that your proxy shows up to.
Yeah.
And that was, I mean, I think that's, I don't, I'm ambivalent. Is that like of 2 minds, right?
Yes.
I think I like the idea of having a standing so that in case something happens and you forget at the last minute, there's already, because, especially like during the summer, right? If I forgot that it was today, I'm also going to forget to announce my proxy, right?
Yeah.
But a concern would be if that proxy's not there, or that it just ends up being the same 2 people who have everyone's proxy, and now it's just 2 people making all the decisions.
I mean, I think we should maintain our attendance policy, but I think in the
Yeah.
interest of being able to get stuff done, maybe this gives us like a workaround. Like I totally see that. And I think it should still be strongly discouraged to miss meetings. But I think that if we want to make our meetings, our time useful, we need to have a way to make sure we can get stuff done. So it's kind of, I mean, I recognize it does set up some contingencies for people just not to come because they're like, oh, well, Emily's the president and she's got my proxy.
But then we kick them out.
Yeah, then I would hope that Emily would be like, hey, board member, I've been your proxy for the last 7 board meetings. Have you considered resigning?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
I like that. I think in conjunction, it would allow us, and we might look back at the wording and see how many our attendance policy allows for, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I want to say it's like 3.
I think it's 2.
Oh, there you go. Even better. So it's already pretty stringent. So we actually need to like hold people accountable to that.
Yes.
And follow up. And, we may or may not have done the follow up soon enough in the past.
Yeah, so this is what I was reading because I was trying to be diligent on knowing based on our last meeting's attendance, who I would need to follow up with, because that would be 2 consecutive meetings. So
2 consecutive meetings, they can provide an explanation and we can vote.
Yeah.
Now the question is, can we vote if we don't have quorum though?
Well, it says by the remaining members there.
Yeah, okay. So just majority of the remaining members.
Okay.
Yeah. So we wouldn't have to be voting quorum.
Yeah.
And then we could become voting quorum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yay.
The other thought that I had was we could change the wording from a set number of people to a percentage of the board, and that would allow some flexibility. If there are unfulfilled positions.
Right. So if
So,
we,
you know,
yeah, if
majority
somebody's-
of the board,
fine.
at least
Yeah.
majority, right?
yeah,
You can't get much lower than 4 when you only have 6 board members, though, because this is still not majority. Yeah, it is. Because there's really only 5. I was thinking we had 6 members, but we only have 5.
yeah, but 3
The
out
3
of
out of
5.
5 would be majority.
Yeah. So we could vote. Like, yeah. So under that, we could pass stuff
Right.
if we were all in agreement.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I
So-
mean, I think that those type of arrangements might make sense given how small we are right now. And we might want to be prepared for a revision to that in the future if you know if it becomes a much more bigger active membership,
Right.
because we would want to, and again, historically, which now is 7-9 years ago or whatever, but historically there were complaints that people felt like certain people were at Kaba and were running. It's like, well, yeah, if they're the only ones that are showing up, then yes, but you could show up and then it wouldn't be like that. So I guess that's sort of where my concerns come from, is that we could definitely be more productive, but we may not be incorporating a wider perspective if we
Right.
but we got to get stuff done too. There's got to be some balance.
I
Yeah.
think the membership has also shifted, or the board membership has also shifted a little bit, where we have someone in private practice as president, and we have other practitioners as opposed to primarily university faculty.
Yeah.
And we have
Yeah.
different faculty here too. So
Yeah.
maybe perceptions are different.
Yeah. And I mean, honestly, the complaints that I knew of, those people are not actively involved in anything in the state as far as I can tell. So, they're not, those particular individuals are not the ones that are going to still be complaining. So yeah, I think we do have the opportunity to, revamp it.
Well, those people know how to have a voice if they want it.
Exactly.
They're welcome to volunteer.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Oh, you don't like how it's being run? You should come. And
You should
tell
come to the
us.
meeting and tell us.
Yes, please. We're very receptive to feedback. We just have to have some to know what to do.
Yes.
Yeah. So I like the idea of I hear 2 options on the table. One is kind of giving the opportunity to have a proxy on file. And if somebody's unable to make it, it would default to them, so we could still get stuff done, but we would really highlight that missing 2 consecutive meetings would still put you in breach of the bylaws. So you need to make sure that you are truly able to have the capacity to do this. And then the other option would be to change the wording, which would require not only quorum here, but also a full membership vote. So that sounds like a much larger movement, but maybe it's one that makes sense as we move into voting later this year. because we're gonna have to put some stuff out for voting, so if we still feel like it's necessary at that time, then we can add that to the ballot.
That seems
Yeah.
reasonable.
Yeah, I
Cool.
was gonna say, one, with the proxies, that is something that we can do now. And the other, we may still also want to do, but in conjunction with whatever other bylaw changes that we might need to make. So.
Yeah. Perfect. And of course, since we don't have proxy, we can't actually take action on any of that, but we could put the proxy piece out to vote on email. I could send
I
it
think
out.
that's a good idea.
Okay.
Let's
Do
just get
we-
it done. That way the people who don't want to show up until we do something else will have the opportunity to vote. And say, yeah, please take my vote.
Right.
Do we need to vote on that? Not that I don't want to, but is proxy a voting thing, or was that just a policy for us? I don't know where it's worded, right? Because some things are just our procedures that we could choose to change.
Right.
And the
There's
only reason
proxy
I
in here
ask,
somewhere.
because if it's a vote and the people that are not attending also don't vote, we're still stuck.
Right.
So it doesn't seem to say anything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it doesn't say the frequency with which.
No,
So we
yeah.
could just implement it. It's not
Okay.
a change to the bylaws. I mean, that's my thought. You could still put it out there if you wanted to. I just don't know if we have to vote on it.
Yeah. I think that makes sense. I don't see anything in here that suggests that we would have to have a vote to make that happen.
Would we want to just send
Already
out a
allowed to
Google
do
form
Oh, sorry, Kristen,
inviting? Oh, go ahead. Sorry. I think I've got
No.
a delay.
you're good. Go ahead.
I think we might want to we could just put out a Google form where you enter your name and who you'd like for your proxy to be, assuming you've discussed it with them. And then we would have a little collection of them and then we could move forward.
I like it.
That seems
Okay.
simple.
Yeah. I do think that they should avoid having their proxy be, if it's an ongoing proxy, it probably shouldn't be the president.
Okay.
I don't think the president is intended to have that kind of role.
Yeah.
They're supposed to moderate votes versus be a
Yes.
deciding vote.
So then, Kristen and Rachel, my question to you two are you guys being okay if always being a proxy for someone else?
I think so. I mean, someone else would have to be a proxy for me if I'm not around. So it seems fair. Hopefully we're not all missing at the same meeting. If that's the case, then we should just go home. Or
Yeah.
turn off
Meeting's
Zoom.
canceled.
Sorry, it's summer in Alaska. Gone fishing.
Yes. And I will follow up on the two. I'll just have the blanket emails, basically, I'll follow up on that process where if they hit 2 that are missed, then I will send that email. And we'll just have that be, which is a big deal this year because we only meet
Right. We're not meeting every month.
quarterly.
Yeah.
So, yeah, okay. All right.
Okay, Emily, just to clarify, then you'll be contacting the 2 members?
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, and I think that should be standard practice, that it's the president that is reaching out to anybody that is
Yeah.
not meeting their expectations. That shouldn't fall
somebody-
to the secretary treasurer.
Does somebody have time to create a Google form for that?
I am dying this week, but could possibly do it next week.
Okay, that would be great.
Yeah. There's a grant application due on Monday, and then I will not be able to think about it anymore because it will be done one way or the other.
That is the nice
Yeah.
thing about grant applications.
Yep, it goes away. Bye.
And then you
Good
just
luck.
sit there and wait, and who knows what happens.
Hope to see you again with some money there, little buddy.
Okay.
Will you assign that to me as well so I get an email? Like at me and then
Yep, I can do that.
awesome. Thank you.
So, can I talk about the biannual report?
Yes, please do.
Okay, so what I'm running into is that the state requires us to have a president-elect, a secretary treasurer, and 3 board members for us to file. And I need addresses for everyone. So since we don't have a president-elect, I was wondering if Rachel would be okay with her name down, or what do we do in that situation, Rachel? I don't know, because I went to fill it all out and do all this stuff, and then I realized we don't have enough people, and then I emailed Anne and Winter because I didn't have their addresses, and Anne got back, and so I have Anne's address, but I haven't heard from Winter for a couple weeks. So, like, where do we go from here? Is kind of my question.
Do we have a, oh, let's see, I guess it's biennial, so we didn't do it last year, did we?
Nope, it's every 2 years. So we still had Veronica on there, and we still had some other people like Jermaine, and like we had plenty of people like back in the day. But right
Yeah.
now we're very low on members, and like the state won't let me do the report until I have all this information.
When is it due?
I believe it's in the 22nd of July. So we have a little time.
Little
That's
bit of
why
time.
that's why I was trying to email people like a couple weeks ago. And so
So what are the roles? We need a president-elect, but we don't need a past president.
nope, we
And
need
we
a
need
secretary
3.
treasurer and then 3 like board members.
Okay, so we have all those except we have a past president and we don't have a president-elect.
Right. So that my question was,
Yeah.
would it be okay for me to put you as president-elect?
I'm fine with that. If the board is fine with that as just a placeholder, because, you know, I am in a past president role, so it's similar-ish. And so
Do we need
can
a
file
for real
it.
vote on that? Or can we just say, yeah, sure, go ahead?
I think that's a yeah, sure, go ahead kind of decision.
Sweet.
Well, yeah, I didn't want to put you down and like if you weren't okay with it. So I was like, okay, at our meeting,
Yeah.
like, I'm just gonna go through
I
this.
think
Okay.
I think that that's fine.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Message me on Facebook and I'll give you my new address.
Perfect.
They might get weirded out that president and president-elect are not in state.
I bet they run into it quite a bit.
They probably do, actually,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh
Okay,
my
thanks.
goodness. Okay, thank you so much for taking care of that, Jenna. Okay, so talking about the secretary treasurer position, how have we done this in the past? Do we have, does anybody have suggestions of people who might be interested in this?
Yeah.
We
I was
have
gonna-
5 grad students. I'm sure I could talk to them and see if anybody wanted that.
Yes, please do.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say too, like the way it's gone before is that we've reached out, we've talked about what it encompassed, maybe have them come to a meeting so they can kind of see who's in that role and what that person's doing. And then yeah, try and get somebody who's willing to commit to it. I think it is very important for Jana to be part of that conversation with anybody that is seriously considering it, just so we can be very honest with the amount of work, because there was, I would say a lot at the beginning. And once you get into it, it gets easier, but there's a lot of little pieces. And it can probably feel pretty overwhelming. Like even as president-elect, trying to learn some of those systems is the same type of thing. You got to learn a lot of the systems kind of all at once.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Grad students, I think, are a good idea. If that doesn't work, or if you don't have somebody that's super interested there, you might reach out and see if people have like maybe student members, RPTs, or
Mhm.
affiliate members that might be interested. That would be another way to reach out. I mean,
Yeah.
I knew about Jana because she was a trainee at the time. So, you know, that's how, yeah, kind of like Kristen said, she's looking at her students. You know, I could reach out to trainees and see if we have somebody that's maybe really interested.
Right.
Yeah, and we still have a year. I just thought like if someone could shadow me and I could show them in real time, I think it would be so much easier than
Yeah.
having to like just be thrown into it. And I know Veronica was amazing and made tons of training videos, but like even when I'm going back now, a lot of those training videos are outdated and the systems don't look the same anymore, like with Wild Apricot, you know, like trying to follow along because there's been update, you know, it's like any kind of platform. There's updates and it doesn't look the same and the state forms are not quite the same and the logins are not the same. So then I'm kind of having to like just kind of figure it out, which is fine. But I think like I want the next person to feel confident and successful and not overwhelmed. So if we could like kind of like they could just shadow me, they don't have to commit for like until next summer, but if they could at least shadow me, just getting through like the first like the voting and stuff is like a huge amount of work. And if just getting someone through that part, I think, and showing them the ropes, it would make it much more manageable for them to like. So that's just like why I'm kind of bringing it up early. Like I'm not
Yeah.
going to dip out early or anything, but I'm just like, hey, we should think about this. And I want it to be a smooth transition, and I'm not going anywhere, so I can always, if somebody needs something with Wild Apricot, I usually can jump in and like I'm really familiar with calling the help number and like figuring stuff out. So yeah.
Right.
Like
Yeah,
a
I like that
secretary,
idea.
treasurer-elect.
I had the same thought. I was like,
Except we're not electing them, but yeah.
I was like, how do you say it but not have elect? Secretary, treasurer,
In waiting?
appointee.
In training,
Yeah.
intern,
Yeah.
a secretary, treasurer, intern.
Intern, I like that. Yes. I think that's really important because you do a lot. I'm always like, oh wow, Janet took care of that. Oh my goodness.
Veronica set up great systems. So like I feel like the systems are really in place. It's just about keeping up with it and checking with like our master documents and like, you know, making sure I'm like doing the reports if it's every 2 years, because no one can remember all the little pieces, but you know, having those like systems and those documents in place are super helpful, but like also having like a real person show you the first time, I think can be super helpful too. So
What? BST? What?
Yeah, it was funny because I just got off. I had a meeting with Jim Carr the other day, and he was talking with a different chapter, and he was going through like some random thing with them, and he was like, "Oh, you guys actually aren't a nonprofit anymore." Because when they had switched to their board, they didn't have processes in place, and they didn't know they had to file the forms with the IRS. And so they lost their standing. And so the whole board had to disband. And so Jim was like, anytime I'm talking to anybody who's associated with any chapter, I'm just making sure you have processes. I'm like, those people over at Akaba that were before me had their stuff together because they're processed out. We could share.
Yeah.
So. All right. Perfect. Well, Kristen, I'm gonna, would you like to ask your grad students, since you have people, I really genuinely, there's nobody top of mind that I'm like, that person has the time and would like to do this. So if you want to put some feelers out there, if you hear back and nobody's interested, we could always put something out, Facebook, and ask who's interested and kind of outline the opportunity.
Yeah. Yeah.
That sounds like a great plan.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Great. All right. Rachel, you want to give us a conference review?
Yeah, so I'm not logged into the Akaba stuff, so I couldn't tell you exact numbers, but
I put them there for you, Rachel. You just have to read them.
oh, you've got it. Oh, okay, great. Yeah, so 35 members, 5 non-members that didn't get CEUs, 2 non-members that got CEUs, and then we had the 3 speakers. We had a good turnout for the Rat Lab tour. Like, it was, a lot of people standing around. We took a couple of pictures. I have a couple pictures on my phone. I should probably send those to Akaba. Made me tag me so that I remember to send pictures that I took. And then we had a good turnout at the social night. And, I think everybody enjoyed it. We spent money and had appetizers, and yeah, so I think that went really well. We had a good turnout for the conference. Discovered that the building was locked, so we had to always have somebody like run and let people in, but we worked through that. I don't think anybody stood out there for too long. And then good feedback. I think the CEUs went smoothly. I did all of the CEU stuff a while back, and I emailed a couple of people that I didn't have the exact information from, or wasn't sure if they wanted CEUs. Like our speakers, they didn't fill out the survey, but they can have CEUs for their speaker thing. So I haven't seen anybody forward me any emails about CEUs, so I'm guessing that no one responded that they wanted CEUs. And that was kind of how I phrased it, was like, if you want them, send us back the information. So it went pretty smoothly, although I did discover that the Word on my computer does not do mail merge. So the way that Veronica taught me, I couldn't do it. I typed them all in by hand. Whatever. There's a form. It's easy, but it was more typing than than last year. But I had all the information, and there were not like 85. There were like 30. So manageable. But that would be something that we might want to just think about, how to smooth out that process in the future. Otherwise, it would be time consuming if we had a lot of CEUs. And let's see, we got really, really good feedback on the conference itself. But the speed networking was really popular. It was a bit chaotic. We didn't math it very well, but everyone had fun. And most everyone just stayed and kept chatting, past that for quite a while. And then I think a group of them, once we were like, okay, we have to actually leave this room now, a group of them went out to eat together after the conference as well. And I saw Abigail Calkin at ABAI, and she sent me a quote for the website about how it was the best conference she's ever been to. And she said that through that she's made connections with like 4 people, and they're gonna write some stuff up together. So
Nice.
yeah.
That's very
And
exciting.
yeah, and I saw Kathy Fox, and she also said that she loved it. It was a fun experience. She thought it was great. So just really positive feedback. I think I sent out the conference feedback survey. I didn't look at any of the results, but there is a official survey form somewhere that we should look at the results from.
Okay. Is it
But
in
yeah,
the Google? Do you want me to try and pull it up right now? Let's see.
sure.
Is it in here somewhere?
Go to yeah, it probably landed in the conference folder.
Is it this one?
Yes. Responses. There you go. So most people heard about it word of mouth. Some got the Akaba email. So no, yeah. Everyone said it was easy. That's good. Those don't come across
Nice.
labeled well, but 5 is going to be satisfactory and 1 is going to be
Okay.
not. So
Okay.
ease of CEUs. Okay, those are positive. 3 is going to be a neutral.
Okay.
Yeah, so one person's like, eh. The others were like, yeah, this is a fine location. Variety of speakers, good.
Oh, yay. That's a good
Quality of
one.
speakers, really high.
Nice.
All right.
Oh,
What
they
should be
like the long
repeated?
breaks.
Like the networking, practical presentations about insurance, but also more philosophical talks. So they like the mix. That's good.
Yes.
I had doubts about the speed networking. Yeah, but it was fun. Okay, so everyone really liked the speed networking.
Yeah, very cool.
Let's see. More CEUs. Yeah, we only had 3 hours, so
Yeah,
more time to discuss.
they really like getting together. We just want social time.
Yeah, more than 3 CEUs, continued collaboration, dimmer lighting, fair. We didn't have as much flexibility in that room. There was like 2 settings on the lights, and that was it.
Oh,
It was like on, off, or like slightly dimmer, but yeah. Yeah, great.
nice. Really nice, nice comments. Well done. Good job, conference committee.
Yeah. And we had a really active conference committee too, and I will say in years past, it has not been that way. So it was very nice.
When do you have to start planning for next year's conference?
So you can throw one together in a few months. Ideally, though, I would start planning about 9 months out of when you want to have it. So if we want to have it in the spring, we should have the committee going by like August, September. So we do need to think about what that will look like.
Yeah.
I would like to not be the chair of it. I've been the chair every year, or I've ended up by default being the chair every year.
Right.
I think we did have a really active group, so I think that when we put out like a call for that, and we can mention it maybe on the July meeting and say, hey, before the next quarterly meeting, we want to get the conference committee started. Do we have volunteers? Also, do we have somebody who might chair it? I'm happy to be involved,
Perfect.
but I would like to not chair if we
Fair.
can get somebody else to step up.
Yeah, that's absolutely fair. Okay, great. Wonderful. Anything else about the conference?
No, I've only heard good things.
Yeah, is great work. I heard lots of really good things too, and the Fairbanks crew seemed to have fun, so that's really
Yeah,
cool.
the hybrid tech worked well
Yeah.
enough, right? You know?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so thanks for putting that together, all of our conference people.
Yeah, I think it might be helpful. Also, since we're thinking about like what the July quarterly meeting will be for everybody, to summarize maybe the feedback
Yeah.
and to share that with the group and to thank all the committee members during
Yeah.
that July meeting.
Perfect.
And then ask them if they want to chair it.
Right? Yes.
And it will be a little bit less stressful if you start early, right? Like, because we started in the fall thinking that we could put something together in conjunction with CISA.
Yeah.
And that didn't work, which means that we really revised everything in December.
Right.
So we did it in 5 months.
Yeah.
But that's a much tighter timeline. It can be a more leisurely process if we give ourselves more time.
Absolutely.
And we can have more than 3 CEUs if we give ourselves more time.
Yes, absolutely. Perfect. All right. Well, I will give just a brief update on the public policy. We have been having our monthly meetings. Great turnout. We oftentimes have, 7 to 10 people on those meetings.
Are they all going to come to the July meeting?
I actually have the next one is coming up this week or next week, and I have it on my notes to encourage them to all attend the main members.
Because that's fantastic. That's fantastic that you've got that many people. And I would love to see them all involved. Same thing with like the conference committee. We had like 5 people, but they were all very involved.
Yes.
So, I mean, some of them were me, Kristen, and Jana, but
yeah.
But the other 2 we would love to see as well.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, and hopefully the more people that see successful things and get that reinforcement of the good feedback, then they'll be more likely to continue to participate. So hopefully we can build it back up. It's one of those turtle processes. You just keep going slow and steady, and hopefully people jump on board. The Medicaid rate increase is in the final budget from the Senate and the House. So it's all in the governor's hands. I am trying to find somebody from Matsu who would be willing to send the governor an email letter type thing and just say, basically just explaining what autism services is. And I can write the letter, but somebody who'd be willing to send it, and a little fact sheet so that it doesn't get vetoed simply because he doesn't know what it is. So if anybody has any Matsu people, could be providers, could be families, could be whoever, doesn't really matter as long as they have an interest in it.
Amy Locker is out there.
I reached out to her and I never heard back.
Oh, so, okay.
But I can try again.
I'm trying to think who else. I mean, we have a trainee out there who might be able to.
Okay. Yeah, it just is a matter of sending it. So it's just email. So I can give them all of the information to send and the emails, and they would just pop it in and send. Basically, it's because the governor's from Matsu, so the lobbyist thinks that having it from a Matsu person would have more.
Jana, Eleanor lives out there, right? Yeah, that would be my thought. She would probably be willing to send an email, especially if it's already drafted or whatever. Okay. Yeah, so maybe send me an email to remind me to introduce you via email, and then you can send it over to her if she's willing to.
Perfect.
But I can do an email introduction. Yeah.
That'd be great. The other thing that I heard is Bartlett Hospital is closing because of the rates, and so their whole ABA program is shutting down. The provider that was heading it up, which I don't remember her name at the moment, but she is going to step out into private practice. I heard this from the director of the Division of Behavioral Health, and so I said, Akava is a great resource. Make sure that she knows about it. You know, we can help point her in the direction of, you know, resources on how to get going with that. Also, I'm happy to answer any on a personal level and just try and get them up and going.
So I know her and have run with her. I connected her with Katie Cook.
Good.
I was texting her about something unrelated. So I will happily pass along that another successful businesswoman would be willing to support her in getting up and running.
Absolutely.
And yeah, I can reach out to her today.
Okay. Yeah, that'd be wonderful.
We used to run together when I lived in Juneau. So.
Oh my gosh. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Very cool. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Put her in touch. I'm happy to help however I can. We'll just keep those services going if we can.
Yes.
And who is that?
Jenna Wiersma?
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
that's it. Yeah.
She used to be
all right.
at Behavior Matters, and then she quit
Yes.
because Behavior Matters, and then
And
started
yeah.
Bartlett.
I
now.
recognize the name. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
Okay. And the last piece that I have is the collaboration with schools bill that Rep. Carrick has put forward is still in play, but it's tabled until next session because of the fiasco with this that the state is having to kind of walk through with all of their education stuff they're dealing with. So they were like, we don't need any more topic education stuff. So that's just been tabled. So we will take that back up next session, and I'll probably be presenting the board with like, can we make some statements and yada, yada, yada. So, but nothing pressing finally at the moment with public policy. Session's over.
Nice work on the autism rate adjustment.
Well,
was a lot
let's
of
make
work
sure the
for
governor
students.
doesn't veto it before we.
It was still nice work to get it that far.
Yes. Regardless, well done.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
yeah, you guys have been busy, so thank you so much.
If he vetoes it, I will cry. You can just find me sitting in the dark corner somewhere crying. Not
I
really.
mean, I could think
don't
of better
put that
ways to fix the problem, but maybe crying first.
Yeah. Yes. So I'm hopeful. Division of Behavioral Health told me they can't tell me what they know, but they said that they were hopeful and that they have put the rate increase over to the Office of Rate Review to try and get ahead of things so that they could move quickly if it does pass. So I think that's kind of promising, but we'll see.
Excellent.
All right. Well, I know
Thank
we're
you.
at our time, but any
Move to
other-
adjourn?
That's right.
Real quick.
Dinner's ready.
I don't have anything else.
Okay.
And our
All
next
right.
meeting is the all staff, or not all staff, the full
we
meeting,
have-
all member meeting in July,
Next
right?
month. Yep.
Okay.
So, all right, perfect. Thank you all so much.
So yes, seconded the
here.
move to adjourn.
All right.
All right. Have a good night, you guys.
Thanks, you too.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.